Pope Pius XII did not officially respond to the bombing. However, Cardinal Luigi Maglione, his secretary, directly told Harold Tittman, the American diplomat in the Vatican, that the bombing was a gross error, an act of the greatest foolishness. From all subsequent investigations, it was clear that the only victims of the bombing were Italian civilians seeking refuge in the abbey. There is no evidence that the bombs dropped that day on the Monte Cassino monastery killed German soldiers at positions near the abbey. Meanwhile, part of the bombs exploded on other German positions, as well as on the positions of the Allies. Bombers were flying at high altitude, and the accuracy of the hits was not great. According to later estimates, only 10% of the total number of dropped bombs hit the monastery. In particular, 16 bombs fell on the positions of the Fifth Army in Presenzano, 27 kilometers from Monte Cassino. They exploded a few yards from the van, where General Clark was working on documents at a table. The day after the bombing, most of the surviving civilians left the ruins of the monastery. Only about 40 people remained, 6 monks who survived in the deep dungeons of the abbey, their old abbot, Giorgio Diamar, 3 families of tenant farmers, orphaned or abandoned children, as well as the severely wounded and dying. After the resumption of attacks, in particular, shelling, everyone who could move decided to leave the ruined abbey. It is known that the Germans had an agreement with the monks. Soldiers could not use the abbey for military purposes as long as there were monks present. Therefore, after the bombings and the departure of the monks from the ruins of the abbey, the troops of the 1st German Parachute Division immediately occupied the remains of the monastery, turning it into a powerful defensive stronghold and observation post. Thus, the bombing of the abbey only created an additional obstacle to the advancing Allied forces and resulted in unnecessary casualties among the attacking soldiers. On the night after the abbey was destroyed, a company of soldiers from the 1st Battalion of the Royal Sussex Regiment, having left their positions at Snakehead Ridge, attacked Hill 593, which was of great significance for the advancing forces. The attack failed, and the company lost about half of its strength. On the following night, the Sussex Regiment was ordered to resume the attack, but with the forces of a battalion. The start of the offensive was unsuccessful. Artillery could not be used to fire at Hill 575 due to the proximity of their own positions, that is, the possibility of mistakenly shelling their own troops. Because of this, shelling of Hill 575 was planned, from where the Germans provided fire support to those defending Hill 593. However, due to the topographical features of the area, the shells fired towards the height of 575 flew very low over Snakehead Ridge, and due to the natural spread during the bombardment, several shells fell on the Allied companies preparing to attack. After reorganizing at midnight, the offensive began. The battle was bloody, at times resulting in hand-to-hand combat, but the German defense held firm, and the battalion's advance was repelled. As in the previous attack, losses reached about 50% of the personnel. Over 2 nights, the Sussex Regiment lost 12 out of 15 officers and 162 out of 313 soldiers involved in the offensive.